Okay, not sure if my sound's working. Doesn't look like it. See if I can fix this real quick. Uh, Make sure this is turned on. Yep. Okay. Okay, maybe it looks like, I think it's working. Okay. So all I'm doing right now is working on joining the Nana's Hug blanket. Let me move that out of the way. This out of the way. And at the time I was watching there we go. I was watching some episodes of season 1 Farscape. I'm letting my son watch them, but I am pre-watching the episodes to make sure it's relatively family friendly. So like the first episode and the second episode are okay. The third episode, there's a little bit of weirdness going on in terms of adult content, but not adult content. Like, you know what's going on, right? And I didn't want to have to explain that to him. So the episode after that was okay. And then where I'm at right now is episode 5, PK Tech Girl. And that one is a little bit too, and that one's more because it's like creepy themes. There's the fake dead bodies. So I'm like, yeah, he does need to watch that. Um but it's so funny watching him watch it, especially the episode yesterday. We watched Genesis yesterday, which is episode 2 of season 1 from Farscape. And man, he was sitting on the edge of his chair the whole time, and he was asking some really good questions. Um, so like he was definitely very observant. He was paying attention, which was really, really cool to see. And he was following along with the story. He didn't want to go to bed either. There was like, we're using the freebie, so there's ads involved, but the quality of the video is so good that I don't mind. If the quality was bad, if it was like fuzzy, then maybe I might consider buying the episodes. But I think I have a couple seasons on DVD anyway. But one of the commercials near the end showed, and he actually went upstairs to ask his dad if he could stay up to finish watching the episode, even though I told him he could. We just had to wait for the commercials to go through. So he's actually been really excited for it. Um, and the last episode I watched was okay. Um, there's some stuff that I'm not sure if it'll be appropriate for him, so I might just pass on it. But it was the I think it was Thrown for a Loss. If anyone's watched Farscape, then they know that that would be episode 4 of season 1 Farscape, where Rigel is kidnapped by the Tav Flicks. And they've got to get him back because he's got a special. He stole and then swallowed the control module for their ship, so they couldn't leave, even if they wanted to. But the one episode that I'm currently watching is the one where they come across the Zalbinian, which is one of the command carriers that the peacekeepers used to use. And it's basically, I don't know, I guess it's like the equivalent of the finding the Titanic or the Marie Celeste. No one knows what happened to it. And so Erin, one of the main characters, goes aboard to see if she can find out what happened to it because it's been missing for over 100 years. And then the other guy, Dargo, he wants to go on to see if there's any navigational maps because they're in the uncharted territories. So that's kind of where I'm at that episode. Obviously, I remember it from when I watched it the first time when I watched it with my mom. But yeah, it's been really cool. I think just the fact that we've got a show that we can watch together. I might because the thing is I started watching classic Doctor Who when I was 6. The first episode was The Leisure Hive with Tom Baker and Lala Ward. So the fourth Doctor, and then the only other Time Lord companion he's had since I think the new series, but I don't watch the new series, so I don't really know. Plus, I think the new series has kind of diverged quite a bit from the original canon, so I don't even know if you would call it a continuation of the classic. More like a parallel universe, if I'm being completely honest. Um, but yeah. So when I was 6, I started watching classic Doctor Who with my mom, and then when I was 8, I started watching Star Trek. Um, And, like, I just remember that that was a big part, even if I didn't understand everything, and even if it was somewhat scary, I just liked watching them with my parents. So, I'm hoping that I can find some good age appropriate, if you can call them age appropriate episodes for them to watch with me. Um, Farscape is a really, really good one. Stargate as well, but I remember with the first episode of Stargate, uh there's a bit of, like, parental nudity going on, at least partial, so obviously not something I wanna expose the kids to, but I think I was, like, 11 or 12 when I watched that episode, and I remember my mom being, like, so shocked and embarrassed. I'm like, "Mom, it's nothing more than the boobs you see on the marble statues at the art museum." Like, I could never figure out my mom's hang up about it until, of course, I was much older, and then that was, like, a thing. So, but anyway, right now, in terms of the crocheting, I am just connecting. I'm not even sure, to be completely honest, I'm not even sure if I'm connecting it now at this point, the way it's prescribed in the pattern that Helen has written. But I like the way that it looks. I'm pretty sure it's close to what the pattern is. So I just figured I would go with it. And I'm getting close to finishing up this one, and then I'll be able to focus on my youngest sibling's cat blanket I've been working on. Um, and that one, it's almost halfway done. It's just super slow going because I unfortunately planned it very, very huge. So it is absolutely massive. But I got to keep working on it because, one square it's a corner to corner. So it's one square at a time, and eventually you'll get done. This I think I've said it before, although I might not have uploaded that video. That might have been the one that I hadn't realized until the end that my sound wasn't working. And who knows? Maybe the sound isn't working and all you're seeing is hands moving around. And if that's the case, this one will go away too. But I like this one because it's very um like, what did she say? Like a assembly system, or like an assembly line, if you will. So I have these still. Whoops, a little too close. I have the centers that I've all made up. I'm using that Excel file, and then as I go through colors, I make the main color for it. So this is like my stack of the blues with all the centers except for the blues. Then I have a stack of pink and a stack of purple. And then with those circles, I still need to do a stack of teal. But I wanted to try and get this blanket as far along as possible. And teal is the last row that I need to do. So, yeah. And another thing that I've got going on is we're going on a cruise later this year. And what I did on our last cruise is I made about 60 whales, little itty bitty whales. And then I made these little cards that I affixed to their tails, like little laminated cards. So it's not like it would get wet or anything. And I fixed them with these these clear rubber bands. But it was like, uh, you found me swimming along. I know I'm not a duck, but I hope you have a whale of a good time. You found me swimming along the whatever the ship was at whatever the date was. And then I included like ports of call. So I thought it was just a cute little way of not being a duck. Because I haven't been able to find a real quick duck pattern, if you will. See, let me make sure I'm doing this right. I don't want to crochet into the center. I'm going to crochet right there. Whoops. There we go. And it's been really hard for me to find time to do these like recordings because the kids have, of course, had a lot of time off from school, and I don't want them in these recordings because I'm not one of those people on YouTube, whether they're content creator or not, that involve their children in all of their things. So, but yeah, let me see if I can angle this a little bit better. There we go. Okay, cool. I mean, I have my main keyboard's right here, so I don't want to push this over too much. So there's not the best angle to see, but go. In fact, what I'm doing right now, so obviously I'm not watching Farscape because I'm crochet. Well, I mean, it's not that I'm not watching because I'm crocheting. Excuse me. It's because I'm also playing RuneScape right now. Let me see if I can share my screen. Window. Here we go. So, a lot of weird flickering going on. Let me change my graphics settings real quick. Nope, I still got a lot of flickering going on this side. It doesn't look like it's over on my stream, so I think that's fine. Yeah, I guess that's okay. I'm gonna go actually share this. How do I share this? Edit. Will edit work? Whoa! It is doing a rave. Okay, I'm gonna hit cancel. Okay, no, it's freaking now. That's fine. Let me just sharing. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm playing RuneScape at the same time. Because I don't know how to focus on just one thing. All right. I'm trying to find. There we go. The worst part about this section that I'm on right now is that the yarn is black. Because yarn's black, it can be a little hard to find where I want to do my stitches. But there we go. All right, let me see if I can do this. Channel. Yeah, here we go. Oh, that was one from a couple weeks ago. Manage videos. Ah, here we go. Sure. Copy. All right, there we go. Exit that. Back to this. Okay. So here we go. Yeah. Oh, another thing that I like about this is, once you get them connected, it's actually super, at least it feels super, super fast. Like I've had other ones where it feels like it takes forever to join things. But I think because this is sort of like you're joining it, but you're also not having to cut the string every square, it makes it just feel a whole lot faster, which is quite nice. Here we go. And look at all this yarn barf. Just a horrible little tangled mess. It's driving me nuts because I took this from the center, and normally you don't have this problem when you do a center pull, but for whatever reason, this one just decided it wanted to puke up all over me, which is really, really frustrating when you just get this big old yarn spaghetti ball. And I'm trying really, really hard to untangle it as I go because I don't want to trim it and ends up with a ton of loose ends. I already have 2 ends that I'm going to have to weave in. And by the time I finish this, I'll have at least another one. Go. All right, let's turn this. Okay. Get this one here. Yeah, and I cannot remember for the life of me. Okay, I'm going in there. There we go. There we go. Back into there. I actually had a problem earlier this week where I accidentally didn't connect the two. So what I'm doing right here is I'm going around the square. And as you go around the square on one side, you actually connect it as you go to the square that you've already done. Well, in one of those instances, I absolutely did not connect them. And I was coming across, I was adding squares onto the next row. And I realized it would be like this. It'd be like I went to the next row, I was adding on the squares, and this was just left. So what I was able to do, because it had this, let me show you, this layer around it. See how I have this black around this, and I have black around each of these squares? I just slip stitched using its own, like its own loop, and I honestly would not, even if I looked at this for 100 hours, I would not be able to tell you what square it was. Because it just blends in so seamlessly, even after making that mistake, which I was really quite happy about, because it means that if I happen to make this mistake again, although I've been as careful as I can to not make that mistake, if I happen to make that mistake again, it makes it a lot easier for me um to fix it. I don't have to panic and be like, oh no, how am I gonna make it look right when I've completely missed it and I've already started adding all these rows and I've got over an hour's worth of work in it. So it is kind of nice realizing that I don't need to worry too much. Um, all right, I'll go in here. 2. Now I'm working my way around this side, and then I'll connect here, and then I'll start working around this side while joining to this side. Then I work my way around here, here, and so on and so forth. But I actually I started connecting, I started adding the squares to this row here. I started adding these last night. I finished them up this morning, like adding them this morning before I started work. And then just now before I started recording, I started working my way back to where I could join these together. So it goes pretty quick. Alrighty. Now that the kids are finally back in school, I'll be able to clean up this room too. Fortunately, you guys can't see it, but it became a bit of a demolition derby. I keep telling the kids to keep the toys in their room and not in the office, but as kids do, they sometimes bring them in here because they don't want to play in their playroom, in their awesome playroom that I didn't have growing up, but they don't want to play in their playroom without me and Nate. So, which is fine. I get that. All right, I get to go to this side, and I get to do this part, and do join, 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 join. Yep, there goes the yarn barf. It's creeping forward like what was it? Of course, I'm actually probably not dating myself because I don't know how many people my age have watched all the episodes of Monty Python's Holy Flying Circus. But I mean, a lot of people my age have obviously watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but I've watched all of their Monty Python's Flying Circus episodes. And there's this really great one that I reference a lot, is where there's these space aliens who come down. And their whole thing is they want to win Wimbledon, which I guess is some sort of tennis thing or whatever. And they're blancmanges, right? They're this jelly looking thing. They remind me of classic Doctor Who creatures, just their sound effects and how they walk and all that. And the running gag of the episode is that they're turning everybody into Scotsmen because everybody knows Scotsmen can't play tennis. Well, this one Scotsman is like, well, I could do tennis. And so he ends up beating the blancmange at tennis, which caused them to leave. And so he saved the earth. But it was so funny too, because, well, if you don't know, the Monty Python Flying Circus episodes were set up where sometimes there would be like a running joke the whole episode. And then they would have these little skits interspersed. And sometimes in the skits, they'd barge in with whatever the running joke was for that episode. And in some cases in a season, they might have a running joke that goes through the season as the skit, like they bring it forward, which I think is really, really, really cool. Um, Very cohesive, especially for basically a comedy show. It's like, what is it? A coworker had me watch it. It was some sort of sketch from Saturday Night Live, but it was like this haunted horror house or whatever, and it was this David someone or another, and there was like these skeletons dancing next to him. I don't know. It was just so hilarious. And then they like brought it back a year or 2 years or however long later, um, which is it kind of reminds me of Monty Python. Um, there we go. I wonder, and I don't know the history about it because I haven't watched much, if any, of Saturday Night Live. But I'm wondering if like Monty Python was like, I don't know when Saturday Night Live started, but I'm wondering if Monty Python was like either the answer to the American version of it or if they were like a precursor to Saturday Night Live. So I kind of actually want to check that out and see which came first. I bet it was Saturday Night Live, but honestly, you can never tell. Like, so the original Office was a UK, and then they Americanized it for American TV. And people are like, "Oh, the American one's funnier." Well, it's just different types of humor. So like, it might be absolutely hilarious in UK, but it just doesn't play well with the American audiences. So they changed it up to fit better. I actually haven't really watched either. I think I made it through the first 3 or 4 episodes of The Office, and I was just like, "Nah, it doesn't interest me." Um, I've seen some clips lately, though, that kinda make me wanna watch it, more specifically for the character of Kevin on the show. Um, but yeah, we'll see. What to do. And what's the other guy's name? Dwight. There we go. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like binge humor, and that's what it seems to be, where the humor is they get people into these very awkward situations, and the audience is supposed to find it funny because it's awkward. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. My life's awkward enough. I don't need to watch people acting awkward for laughs. All right, let's see here. How much further do I have to go? Not too much further. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm on number 7. So I'm about halfway there. It's gone pretty good so far. I don't know what's going on with this one. Shooty shoot. Okay. Yep, definitely. Don't know. So I'm looking at this, and this one's kind of curving up. It's because I did 3 on this side instead of 2 with a small single crochets. So the way this pattern goes is you skip every other stitch. You count from the 7th, you get to the 5th one, or you count from the 9th or 1st, whichever one. You get to the 5th, and you start. That's like your corner. And then you do a single crochet in the corner. You chain 1 on your hook. Then you skip. You can't see because this is black. You skip a stitch, then you work in the back loop of the next stitch a single crochet, and that's your 2 single crochets for that row. And then what you're going to do is you're going to work in the very last one. So you skip, you work in the last loop of the last, so number 9, I guess you'd say, and you do a double crochet. And then you do chain 1, you do the exact same thing across the petal. Then you chain 1, you do a single crochet, you chain 1, and then now on this one, you're going to go right into this corner thing. And I know since this is not like I have to list it as how to because they don't have like a casual category on YouTube, but yeah. Oops, there we go. Oh, all right. Let's see. More yarn barf. You can't see it, but here's a wonderful pile of yarn barf I have to work my magic. All right, so it's crochet into this one. Turn this. So there was a while back, right? I actually really haven't been on Twitch since, but I was on Twitch for a little bit. I was trying to find streamers that were like hosting open Jackbox party because I like playing Jackbox. And there's this one streamer streaming, and she had like 6 or 7 people in there, and she was playing Jackbox. And I was like, "Oh, cool!" So I joined and I played a couple, and I'd made some comments in the chat, and I guess the chick thought I was some sort of dude, but I don't know. It was, and it was so the whole interaction was so weird. Like I played a couple games, and it turned out okay, um, but yeah. I'm still trying to untangle this thing. It's put me off of Twitch because it's like, I guess so since she's a girl streamer, she thinks the only people who watch her are dudes. And I'm like, honey, I'm here for Jackbox. I ain't here for you. You're not that funny. I didn't say that, of course, because that would be kind of rude and it's her stream and all that. But I'm like, don't, it's not, you can't assume someone's watching you necessarily for your physical appearance. Sometimes people just want to watch the game you're playing or the content that you provide. I don't care what you're wearing, geez. But yeah. I wonder though if there'd be any sort of like draw on Twitch for someone who's crocheting, chatting about random topics, and just AFKing on RuneScape. I can't imagine that there would be, but I guess if someone else was just playing around on RuneScape and they just wanted sort of a stream of consciousness stream, that would make sense. Alrighty. Chain, and then we got a double, chain, single, chain, single onto the corner. So we do 2 chain instead of 1. Work through that yarn barf. Single crochet in the same stitch, chain, skip 1, single crochet back loop, chain, skip 1, double crochet back loop, chain, skip 1. Like this is, I'm basically what I'm saying is exactly how the instructions are written out. And of course, for those of you familiar with crocheting, you know what I'm talking about. Just for those of you, the maybe -2 people who will ever watch this in the future. But that's okay. Let's see. Did I do this the right way? I did. Okay, cool. There it is. Trying to feel around for it without having to actually look for it. And it just doesn't work very well. There we go. It's a bummer. I was working on one blanket that I need to finish, but unfortunately, I made it as wedding present with the colors that both the bride and the groom like, and they're no longer married. And it was not taking me that long to crochet. In fact, it was less than a year. I almost had it. And I didn't start until after I went to their wedding ceremony. So it was going to be like a belated present for their first anniversary, but that didn't work out. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that blanket. May finish and actually try and sell it on Etsy, but it's, I don't know, it's weird. Here we go. Fuck. Yarn barf. Oh my gosh. This has been the worst skein ever. Just gotta untangle it. It's just a big lump. What's not helping is see if I can get this. Oh, come on, dude. Here we go. Eesh. Okay. I see what's happening. Okay, so the origin string, as I will call it, the one that actually goes to the ball, is starting to twist up against the destination string, which is the side that I'm using to crochet. So I just have to be super careful with that, I guess. I had someone join for like half a second. That was cool. That's cool. They're like, oh no, this person's crocheting. Let's just leave. I think I'm pretty straightforward with what I'm doing. I guess maybe I'm not because I'm talking about random stuff that is not exactly crocheting. That's very odd too, is I swear I use this yarn for everything, but some of these feel different. They look exactly the same, but they feel like stiffer. So it goes soft, stiff, stiff, soft, stiff, soft, stiff, soft, soft. That's so weird. Anyways, that's okay. Do. More yarn barf, I gotta untangle. This is so much fun. I'm just kidding. Literally the worst. Okay. Trying to untangle it from this side. So this is where I'm at. And these two meet somewhere in here. I'm having to untangle. Maybe I should just sit here and untangle it. You know, there's actually people who they love untangling yarn. So people will send them their yarn that's all tangled up, and these people will sit there all day and untangle it and then roll it up into a ball for them and send it back. And some people do that for free. Which is, I think, really considerate because the person's already spent the money buying the yarn. I remember when I first got some yarn, I bought some really cheap. I say cheap; it was affordable yarn online, but I didn't realize it was affordable because they were in the form of shanks. And shanks, if you don't know, is terminology for yarn that's sort of the way that it's been put together is it's kind of twisted around itself. Um, and unless you know how to untangle it, you are going to cause a huge mess. It took me hours after I started messing with it. It took me hours to get even the smallest little amount of yarn untangled, and I just gave up. I was like, "There's no way." I kept breaking it, trying to untangle it, so I gave up. But it turns out that there's a couple ways to do it if you want to untangle it right, and then there's a way that you can like buy the machine that helps do it for you. But I had just been getting into crocheting, so I didn't want to invest a lot in that. So look at this. This is basically a knot that I'm trying to untangle. Just got to try and figure out what is causing it. And it's this. It's wrapped around there, basically cutting it off. I'm just trying to untangle it. Yep, there we go. Came across another knot. Let me see here. Found another spot. It's just looping around. It is so bad. You know what? I think I am going to have to just trim this and then set something up. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to trim this. What I'm going to do is I'm trimming that. And then I'm going to come over here to the source. I'm just going to do an invisible joint because I'm sick and tired of having to deal with this. All right. So, not be able to explain it right. But basically, you just do a slip knot on one end, a slip knot on the other. Tighten it as much as you can without risking the integrity of the yarn, and then you just trim it, and it's done. So you got that end Do it on this side. And I've used this for a lot of projects lately, and it works out great. So here I pull, I tight until I feel like the integrity of the yarn might have a problem, but I try and get it really tight so the fibers sort of stick together. And then I'll trim it as much as I feel comfortable. And screw it up. There we go. And then I'll like pull it once more just to make sure that it's not accidentally going to slip off. All right. So now I don't have to deal with yarn barf. And hopefully it will just get merged right on into this. Back on the road again. Now that we've had a wonderful detour. Right? Let's just shoot. I should not be. Should I? I don't think I should be doing that there. Let's see. Chain. Nope. Yep, that's right. Single crochet and then slip stitch in that center spot. Back over here to single crochet and on a roll I go. Mommy Crochet is on a roll. Nope, that doesn't have the same ring as Paw Patrol's on a roll. There we go. Oh, so very random, but I was looking at an article today. It was like it was titled talking about the nine actors who played parts of the Fellowship in the Lord of the Rings. It's been 20 years since The Return of the King was in movie theaters. So they're like, hey, where are the actors now? And in one of the ones, they of course have Sam Austin. Is it Sam Austin? Am I confusing it? Maybe it's Sean Austin. Crap, I'm gonna have to go look now. I think it's Sean Austin. Let's see. Yeah. So Sean Austin. So they have Sean Austin listed, blah, 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 blah. I was actually very surprised they didn't mention his dad. And so I keep reading down. Then they had people who were not in the Nine Fellowship. They had Arwen. So the daughter of Elrond. And they mention who her dad is. And I'm like, why are you going to mention her dad when you're not going to mention that Sean Austin's dad, who is still alive, is the guy who played Gomez Addams in the Addams Family, the original TV series? Like, I would absolutely say that in mine, but I think that's so cool that that was his dad, and that his dad's still alive at the age of 93. I remember reading recently that the lady who played Wednesday in the original series had unfortunately passed away. I mean, it comes to us all, so fortunate or not, everyone's got a ticket to get punched. All right, where am I at? I've got 3 left to go. And then I got to start joining the next row, which I can share my Excel file for that. How I get that pattern set up. There we go. Go, slip stitch over here. What's this? I have a notification. Oh. Oh, I need caffeine today. I got a headache. That's a monster. Okay. Go. Oh, kids will need to come back and go to bed soon, I think. Yeah, I'm going to get to the end of this. I'll probably just share my organization for the next row, and then I will be out because I want to finish up my Farscape episode before I need to go to bed. So I got to tell you, going to bed at 10, that's me way too tired still. And that's just waking up at 6. Okay, waking up at 5 to wake my husband up, and then waking up at 6. So I, got to be that alarm clock. I'd rather be the alarm clock and be able to sleep in until 5 than have to be woken up at 4:35, 4:30, and then like 10 minutes later, and then like 10 minutes later, and then like 10 minutes later. So then I'm just stuck being up, and I hate that. All right. So crochet and crochet. Just keep going. I move my hands a little bit. It's a little bit. So the action isn't happening up here. It's happening kind of here. Boop. So it's funny. I actually just purchased a audiobook. It's an audiobook that was mainly written by Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor. He even narrates it. It finally made its way to audiobook form. But he and the actor who played Ian Chesterton, wait, not Ian Chesterton, sorry, Harry Sullivan. Harry Sullivan, in the series, they had written this, they come up with this idea themselves. And what it was is they were on a vacation sort of thing with the Fourth Doctor and Harry and Sarah Jane Smith. And they're at a little quaint countryside. At least this is from the synopsis that I read. I have not yet listened to the book, but uh, and there's apparently scarecrows that are eating people. And I thought to myself, and they came up with this idea in the 70s, and I thought to myself that reminded me of one of the episodes of the new series that I saw. I think it was with uh, what's her name? Uh, crap, I can't remember her name. But it involved the first time we ever saw the fob watch. And that just made me think that maybe they took that, like, that episode is what well, that episode was originally like some of the ideas they're very very similar because apparently in the synopsis that I read, um it's like brings out the doctor's worst nightmares, and if I remember correctly, the scarecrows were like nightmarish in the new series. Again, I haven't watched after I watched the new series once. I haven't revisited it, and I haven't revisited it till since they made that grand reveal that the master was back as Missy instead of who I thought they were basically telegraphing that it was going to be the Ranai, which was another Time Lord villain, only it was Time Lord villainess, and she was known for playing the long haul. Like if she knew the doctor was going to be somewhere 100 years in the future, she would set up all of her stuff back then and just bide her time. She'd wait like a spider in a web, whereas that was not the master's modus operandi. He might come in a little bit ahead of time, but he did not like to wait. He liked to build a quick trap and spring it, like with I think it was the Keeper of Traken, the Deadly Assassin, Castrovalva. Castrovalva was probably the most planning that he had ever done in terms of trying to trap him. Although, well, you know what? I might take that back. I was gonna say he might have been involved in the trial of the Time Lord, but I think that was actually the evil doctor's. It was the Doctor's 13th incarnation. Of course, this is the original series, so this is the original series canon, where the iteration, his last regeneration, was basically evil. It was an amalgamation of all the darkest desires that he's ever had. Just sort of come to life. And the whole thing was he was trying to get the sixth doctor killed, and then he was going to take the remaining regenerations that the sixth doctor would have had. But obviously that would have created a sort of time paradox. But the there was like a provision, if well, not a provision, sorry, there was someone higher up in the Gallifreyan system that had agreed to work with the Valiard is what it was called, um, to try and get rid of the Doctor, if you will. Um, and that was the first episode where he really returns to Gallifrey after having had become their president in Oh gosh, which episode was that? Uh, Keys to Time. No, it wasn't. Sorry, Keys to Time is the trilogy. Or sorry, not the trilogy, but it was the 6 episodes, right? And there was a couple, or at least one, The Pirate Planet, written by Douglas Adams. Now I'm thinking Invasion of Time. It was Invasion of Time or The Deadly Assassin. I think it was The Deadly Assassin where he runs for the president. They're like, "Oh, you killed the president of Gallifrey, so you've got to die." And he's like, "Well, um, I also plan to run to be the president of Gallifrey." And I think he actually ends up winning that because it comes to light that it was the master, and the master had access to the matrix, and that's why all this stuff happened. And but then he made Barusa the acting adjunct, basically, and then that guy was like, "Well, I want immortality," and then that led to the incident that led to the events of the Five Doctors TV series special. But anyway, I've made it to the end of this wonderful one. It's starting to get along quite well. This is how big it is now, which is a lot bigger than I mean, it's right now it's just like a lap gan. It's a very nice warm lap gan, but I still have 4 rows left to go. So hopefully I can get those knocked up soon. Hasta la vista.